Welcome everyone to the MMOs.com podcast. Episode 139 here. Altai joined this week by one man named
Omer. Here we are.
There it is. I don't know.
Here we are. The one and only. What about the one and only Altai? I feel like you're a bit of a character yourself. There's always a lot of comments on the podcast videos on YouTube about your crazy ideas and your crazy view of society.
Yeah. I like to throw lots of things out there, see what sticks, you know. And it's very charged, you know. I get a lot of negative feedback too, but you know what? I'm open to it. And you know,
keep it real.
Yeah, not everything sticks. Exactly. You speak your mind. You got to keep evolving your opinions. You know, they're always changing. Yeah. Just don't go down with any one idea. You know, you can always be open to change. That's
I think very important. I talked to a lot of people on MMOs.com Discords and stuff about like controversial topics like pay to win, like subscription, free to play, some of the controversial microtransactions and stuff. And I find people very often just latch onto an idea and they refuse to let go. And like I feel like I've changed a lot of my opinions over the years. I've loosened a bit on pay to win, even though I'm personally woefully against it. And I've loosened my hate for mobile games. Look, I don't like them, and I'm never gonna like them probably. But I don't like. I'm not gonna chastise somebody for liking a mobile game. And like I feel like I used to maybe be in that position where I would. So I think it's very important to be willing to speak your mind and be open to change, and at least hear the other side out when it comes to like controversial things. Because very often, you know, you hear one side of the argument when you're reading something on Reddit or like some shit train on Reddit. So you want to hopefully understand their side and rebut it very well.
I hate to be that guy, but you know what? Part of it is just getting old, just growing up. As a man approaching 30 now. Oh, we got a sub. Thank you so much, Lucifer King. First sub of the stream. But yeah, I think as you get older, I think you have to have that experience to realize it. Like you have to be caught out. Like you have to fight hard for a belief that you later on your own realize is wrong.
Yes.
In order for you to be able to do this, you know, continuously in the future.
And I do feel like you kind of ascend to like almost like a little bit higher level, how pretentious that sounds, when you can actually admit like you're wrong. And that's probably the hardest thing to do, because even like when you argue with, sometimes I argue with people, and there's a moment in that argument where you know you're wrong. You've been beaten. Okay, obviously the other guy's got a better point than you, right? And even at that moment, you won't yield. Like, and personally, that's very hard to say. You know what? You're right. You made a good argument. I'm wrong. Maybe I should know. Maybe I'm wrong. People don't say that, and even like, I don't say that in the midst of an argument, but I will change my opinion after like if I hear convincing evidence.
I'm getting old. I miss the days of my certainty about everything.
And then before we get to the weekly raid, I think I read a great comment on the MMOs.com podcast from last week. Somebody said, you know, sitting in jail, what are you in for, buddy? And the guy looks at him and says, cheating in Fortnite.
I remember that conversation. Yeah, I remember that conversation. All right. Well, not to rehash old arguments, we'll start with the weekly raid. And we'll see
start
if
with
we
new
can,
arguments.
Yeah, we'll start with some new arguments. Let's see if we can spark any interesting combos. Okay, so the big story for me today was actually from Tryon. Tryon announced a reboot/revamp of one of their older games, Defiance. This is kind of a niche title. It came out 5 years ago, and surprisingly, it came out at the same time with a show with the same name. And apparently, you know, it was one of the few cases of like multimedia like this going together. You know, rather than like the show or game coming after. Mm-hmm. So the show lasted 3 seasons and shut down. But the game is still going, despite the fact that I feel like almost nobody plays this. But hopefully with this reboot, it will spark some new life into the game. The reboot's called Defiance 2050, and it's not a sequel. It's not like a prequel. It's not Defiance 2. It's basically the same game remade. It's like a reboot, I guess you could call it. Mm-hmm. Remastered. I don't know. But I think it's a great idea. And it kind of follows the mold of Secret World a lot. So there's this Secret World, which became Secret World Legends. It went from like this old MMORPG built during the time of like subscription games to this new free-to-play, more streamlined game. And I really hope Defiance can do the same thing. That Tryon can do the same thing with Defiance.
Now, is this actually like will characters in the original Defiance be in Defiance 2050 or just as a remake? And
you got to start over. You got to start over.
Okay.
New characters. Which some people obviously like, oh, like I spent money. I want to be able to bring it over. that would so ruin it. Like imagine you start day 1 and there's already people like max. So I'm glad actually that they're not letting you transfer characters over, but they're offering a few little things. If you have account-wide purchases like new character slots, those will carry over.
That's good
because they don't affect gameplay, right? So that's fine.
That's really smart actually. So at least they throw some bone to the loyal players.
Yep.
Who've spent money on the game.
Besides that, it will be free to play at launch, whereas the original Defiance was not free to play at launch. It was a buy to play game. So that's another I guess page from Secret World's book. I'll play a trailer.
It became free to play though. Anyway, Defiance.
Yes.
I remember like very vaguely playing it, and I don't know. I never got through it personally, and like I'm trying to think out of everyone on the MMOs.com Discord, I don't know anyone that says like, "Yo, I played Defiance." Like, I don't know. I feel like the game really didn't get too much word out there. People didn't play it for whatever reason.
Yeah,
but right. I mean, it survived though. It wasn't like the game shut down like immediately. I remember when the show first came out. We watched the first few episodes of the first season, but like the show, the game survived for years already. So clearly, it did attract an audience. There was something to it, and maybe with the revamped version, they'll get even more people.
Yeah, and I think okay. So the broader point for the weekly raid is basically what other games do you wish and hope for and think can benefit from this kind of revamp? Because I want to play Defiance. I want to try it. But it's old. And I'm like, do I want to go through this?
It's not even that old, though.
It's fine. Yeah, you know what? It's not that old. You're right. But it looks old. Like, the UI is old. So I really think a lot of games can benefit from this. So you can start. What game would you like to see a revamp for?
I would love to see a revamp for Final Fantasy XI. And I only say that because my buddy Chaos Shield, he's been egging me on to play Final Fantasy XI for a long time because he knows I play Final Fantasy XIV, and he's been playing Final Fantasy XI forever. And he tried playing Final Fantasy XIV, he couldn't get into it, and he keeps saying like, "This is a shit game. Go play Final Fantasy XI. It's so much better. You call this dialogue. Final Fantasy XI dialogue is better." And he linked me a couple cutscenes for Final Fantasy XI. They were actually really well written. The story, I can already tell you, the story seems more coherent and more interesting and more engaging in Final Fantasy XI, based on the few cutscenes I've seen. There's these really cool, scenes of subterfuge and politics and cool shit happening in 11. But the problem was when I looked at those videos, I immediately realized like I can never play this game. It's literally so old. And I played old games. I grew up playing Ultima Online, which is even older than Final Fantasy XI. EverQuest, Dark Age of Camelot. But those are the old games I played. So because of that, I can always go back to them and not mind the graphics. And I wouldn't care if they look ugly and really hard to get into. I would never recommend it to other people, but those graphics I grew up playing, I can get used to. But Final Fantasy XI, I look at it, I just can't do it because it's so old at this point, and it's got this it's that really old 3D. Like I think around the time when EverQuest came out, or maybe even before. I forgot exactly when. Did they come out before EverQuest?
No, there's no way. There's no way.
A little bit after EverQuest. Yeah. But yeah, these really old 3D graphics are really hard to get into. But I would love to experience Final Fantasy XI in a more modern setting. Though I may have an option to do that because in the pregame I mentioned that Final Fantasy XI mobile is a thing. Apparently, Nexon's working on porting Final Fantasy XI to mobile, which I don't know how that's going to work because MMORPG like Final Fantasy XI has a lot of buttons, and any real MMORPG has a lot of buttons. So I don't know how they're going to get that transition working, but I would love to be able to play that.
That's a good point that I didn't even consider in the weekly raid post, where we are actually getting a lot of remakes, but we're not getting them the way we want. We're getting them on mobile, right? Lineage M, Lineage 2M, Final Fantasy XI. So we're getting what
Warcraft 3 is coming mobile. They're remaking Warcraft 3 as well.
Yeah, by pre-C, yeah. Well, did they actually announce that, or is that still being hinted?
I'm pretty sure it was basically announced because you linked me the thread on the Battle.net forums about the increased specs on the map maker for Warcraft 3.
There was a patch for Warcraft 3 for the first time in a while. They increased a lot of the size limits of the maps. They announced some new event at some Warcraft. They're holding a Warcraft 3 tournament, Blizzard, and it's been years since they did that. So everyone is suspecting a big reveal, but I don't think we technically know yet. At least the last time.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah. It's like 99%.
What about you? Any remakes you're excited for?
Well, I'll start with one I hope they remake. How about that?
Sounds good.
There's two. I picked two. One is Ragnarok Online. What I remember when Tree of Savior was announced, the people excited for it weren't like new players who like saw a trailer. It was old people who just played Ragnarok Online.
Yeah.
Basically. So why don't they cut the nonsense and just stick with the base game? Like revamp that. Don't like change like the 2D perspective or anything, but make it run smooth on current systems, right? Just that kind of stuff. The technical stuff.
Fix the UI.
Yeah,
the UI in Ragnarok was pretty shit.
Yeah.
There's a lot they can fix in Ragnarok without changing the feel of the game.
Yeah, because I think the sprites are beautiful and those aged well, right? And the environments you can make even better because they were always 3D and trying to be like realistic in a cartoon way. But they can make the graphics better, but keep the sprites. They'll be just fine. Beyond that, I'd say a game like EverQuest. I think EverQuest has so much like content over the years. All these expansions. It was our first 3D world. But today, it's impenetrable. The UI is awful. It's not even so much the graphics. It's more the UI I feel holds me back from trying old games. Because the graphics you can get past. But I think your first challenge in the game cannot be figuring out the controls in 2018.
And that's the UI and the actual like you can tell a game is really old when you launch it and it just takes a full screen.
Yeah.
And there's no like borderless window option.
So all that
and
stuff.
And that looks clunky as shit. It just doesn't like I actually tried playing EverQuest somewhat recently because there's a private server for it and I downloaded it and I played it and it's one of those games where once it launches it takes up full screen and it changes all your colors on your desktop to be like glowing like white, and the only way it changes is to go back to your NVIDIA like control panel and reset your settings because it really just fucks everything up. And it's because the game is so old and it's not meant for modern systems. If they just remade that part, I think it would make it much more attractive.
Yep, I agree.
And they're actually remaking Raiders. Somebody mentioned in the chat, Des Cad's Ding. But yeah, Raiders is a thing. It's happening. They're it's relaunching, and they're actually it's not just a relaunch. Actually, they're saying they're going to rework a lot of the systems. I'm not sure that includes like the graphics, but like a lot of the core systems of the game will be different.
Yeah. So again, I hope this trend is copied by other studios. Rather than make. Here's the thing about these old games like Ragnarok or EverQuest. We know they work. They have because one of the biggest problems with launching a new MMORPG is how can you compete with games already on the market that have like 10 years of development? Like WoW. If you release a game like WoW today, you're competing with a game with way more content than you could possibly make, right? But if you just copy an existing game and just bring it up to date with the graphics and UI, you don't have to make new content. You just gotta paste it in.
And I can't emphasize that part enough because I was actually playing Final Fantasy XIV last night, and I was playing a lot of the old content actually, and it was actually remarkable to see just how much stuff is in the game. You kind of lose perspective of that until you play a new game and you see that content being added over the years. But like just the sheer number of mounts are available in Final Fantasy XIV, number of minions, number of cosmetics in the game, different kinds of weapons just to make your character look pretty. There's so much shit. Like I look back at the old raids as well, and those fights are actually really incredible. Those old Savage fights in the game, and I experienced some of them last night. And it's just like any new game has like 3 things to do. Like there's like a couple of end game dungeons, and that's it. And you have to wait years for new content to come out. So you really can't. There's so much value in all that old content in the game.
Yeah, and it's a shame to think that it's going to be locked away forever. Basically, like no one today is going to start EverQuest.
Yeah.
So no one's going to experience those zones and quests and areas that we experienced. But if it was remade with the simple stuff fixed, I think there's no reason not to think this generation could enjoy that content.
Definitely. And actually, on a somewhat side related note, because I mentioned Chaos Shield earlier, when you refer to like your buddies, do you refer to them by their name or their internet name?
It depends on if I know them in real life. First, I'll call them by their real name. If I met them online, I'll call them by their online name.
I feel like for me, more and more, I'm referring to everyone by their internet name. In fact, even Gumby, I went to high school with him. All right, he's a good friend. I still call him Gumby. I call him Gumby more than Sean now. And yeah. I'm trying to think. Chaos Shield, I call him by Chaos Shield. I call Canaris. But I have so many friends I call by their internet names. And actually, when I visited Australia in California, I referred to her the entire time as Shu, and she referred to me the entire time as Remo.
Did anyone else around you guys think that was weird?
No, her mom was there, and obviously her mother referred to her by her real name. But the whole time I referred to her as Shu, and I was Remo, and like everyone, I even Shu's brother, I referred to as Loki, which is his internet name. It just I don't know. I feel like the internet has gotten me to a point where I just feel so comfortable with everyone's imagined internet name. Besides, I personally like Remo better. I think it sounds cooler.
I have a funny story about this actually. So my girlfriend Donut, that's her online name. Yeah. I call her Donut in real life. So we were.
I've actually never called her Michelle. Maybe I just said her name once for the first time, a long time. But in my mind, she's Donut. I always refer to her as Donut.
So in Vancouver, we're at a dinner, right, with like other people, like old people, like not like gamers or anything. And then she calls me Altai, and then and I introduce myself to this group of people as Erhan, and they're like, why why is she calling you Altai? And I'm like, oh, it's my last name. And they were even more confused. Like, what? Why is she call? And I, as a joke, I said, we have a very formal relationship. You know, she has to refer to me by my surname. But it's only because I use Altai online and we met online.
It's like an anime. You can't call somebody their first name until you're closer. You know?
There you go.
I like it.
So it does cause some issues in real life sometimes.
I like Easy McFluffy's comments. I like people refer to me as Cold Killer 69 XX Pussy Slayer 91.
Underscore 91.
Underscore 91. My bad. But I'm trying because I'm thinking all my friends. I refer to all of them by their internet names. I know some people, call each other by their first names, but I don't know. I feel like the internet has kind of playing MMORPGs all this time just makes me think of and the things I know a lot of my friends' real names, but I just never occurs to me.
Altai Sama. Yeah, I'm gonna make her call me that from now on.
Good choice. Any other reboots you're excited for, Altai?
Oh, let's see. I know
what vanilla reboot. There's
yeah, there's another one, but
it's literally just a reboot. I mean, it's a progression server kind of, but like a reboot of its own sorts, you know.
True, and we'll see how focused they are on the authentic experience. Like, will they use the old engine or the new engine? We don't know yet. But here's another one, Diablo 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think Blizzard will get to that one next after War 3.
I don't know. I feel like Diablo 2 probably has less potential out of War 3 and Vanilla WoW and a lot of. I don't know. I played lots of Diablo 2, like a shit ton of Diablo 2, but I don't know. I can't see myself coming back to that again. I've had my fill of Diablo 2.
Yeah. All right.
Karis makes a good point there. There's something interesting about internet names, since it's a name you picked yourself instead of the real name which was chosen for you, right?
Wow, deep.
And it kind of ties back to MMORPGs as well. It kind of goes back into this like your internet name and your internet alias and your internet persona is separate from your own persona. Do you ever feel that or no? Like,
it used to be that way, I think, but I think that's gonna die. And this is a totally different topic, but the internet when it first came out, not when it first, but when it first got popular. Like our youth was a unique time, I think, when you could have a separate internet personality or life than your real life. But I think as now everyone has a phone and it's internet 24/7. They add people on Facebook. They talk to each other like on Instagram or Snapchat or whatever. They're not pretending to be something they're not. They're talking to their friends, people they met or they chose to meet, right? So I think it's gonna go away because when we play games, the people we ended up talking to, we didn't really have much of a choice of it. It's whoever we ran into in the game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas today, everyone is online basically, so you kind of still filter who you end up playing with. There's less room for chance. It still exists in PC games, but I feel for most people, their internet life and their real life is going to be like just one going forward.
And minor side note over here, actually, about why I think MMORPGs are really cool, like social experiences, games too in general. I was actually in Final Fantasy 14, I think a week ago, so ago. I was waiting for my party to fill up. I was sitting outside my house in the game waiting. My free company house, and one of my guild mates, my free company mates, his name is Captain Spaghetti in the game. That's his internet name, right? He's Spaghetti. I call him Captain or Spaghetti, right? It's a pretty silly name, but he's been in the guild chat for a while, and he talks in the free company chat once in a while. But like, it wasn't until he was in front of me, right, literally standing in front of me in the game, that I actually talked to him, like, like, hey, let's talk, like he said something, I said something, we talked an hour about like websites, work, and like some other stuff, right? Which kind of goes back to like, you don't really get those social experiences in Counter-Strike or League of Legends, or even in an MMORPG where the world is like instanced, because like for the longest time I could have talked to this guy forever. He was in my Discord, he's in my free company. There's a guild chat menu, right? But like I see him talking there. I talk once in a while, but like it wasn't until they were actually in front of you that I actually like talked to this person, and it was an interesting conversation. I made a good friend out of him now, so I wasn't really friends with him until that moment happened, even though he was in my guild.
Do you think the avatar played a part? Like, what could have happened in the chat room?
I don't think so. I think just the avatar being in front of you, his avatar, my avatar, I don't know. It does. There's something there, and I feel like we do kind of lose that with a lot of these like instance and more pages. Like when we do closers and stuff. I mean, there's all these different chat channels. You can really only ever see each other in these, in these hub worlds. But there is something to be said about that. And I'm not playing Final Fantasy 14 purely just to talk with people. I was sitting there waiting for my high-end content party to fill. I was waiting for my raid to fill so I could do this, this other content. But I think it's a magical experience that only happens in MMORPGs. And it wouldn't happen on even a Discord chat, because this guy is in my Discord chat, but it happened in MMORPG. He's just a chill dude,
Yeah, I think I agree. That's why I asked. I think the avatar does play a role. That's the value of open worlds. But I think I'm a little more pessimistic than you. I don't think the genre is dying or anything, right? But like you said, I think it's going towards that whole instanced, small group, way method. So we're gonna lose the open world aspect, I think.
That'd be unfortunate because I think that open world aspect really makes an MMORPG. Because even games like Closers, they're MMORPGs. They call themselves MMORPGs. People call them MMORPGs. But without that persistent world, it just doesn't feel like a real MMORPG to me personally.
But I mean, it's crazy that we're losing it too, because it's funny. As technology improves, we're actually getting less of it. Like when technology was worse, when we had dial-up, we had more open world MMORPGs than today, right? Like that's crazy to think that as technology gets better, the games actually get more narrowed in focus.
So I mentioned, what about VR chat? But I feel like if you go in there just for this chat experience, it's a little different. At least when you're playing an MMORPG, you're not going there just to fucking talk to people. So it's more of a organic experience, I think, than VR chat. But with the technology point, I think there's actually a good post on RMRPG about the SpatialOS, right? We've been hearing about this nonsense forever, but they're going to make a big reveal, I think, at GDC. I think it's sometime in March, and they're saying that they have the scalable technology for single server solutions for MMOs. So they want to get rid of that limit. They want to put thousands of players on the screen at once again. So maybe we're going to have, mega servers and more maybe the dream of the better technology and the single server MMORPGs will, be reborn with this. Because I think any MMORPG would benefit by just having one mega server, having more people on the screen, and get rid of those, those technological barriers.
That's true. We've seen a few, I guess, alpha games with SpatialOS, but nothing has really coalesced yet. I know we know Worlds Adrift is the big one. But I haven't heard any news about World of Drift since you played that game like months ago.
They've had some betas on now. It really never took off, and we really haven't seen the SpatialOS technology actually used for something real. We've seen it in very small games, but if it works and they actually use it in real big MMORPGs, I think it'd be kind of cool. But right now it's it's just they're clearly a big legit company. They raised $500 million.
Oh yeah. It's a big company.
This is not a tiny company.
Yeah,
this is real. So hopefully they can maybe up the technology game for MMORPGs and make it more massive. Bring the capital M back in MMORPG.
Don't worry, Star Citizen. They're gonna adopt SpatialOS, and they're gonna say that's why we need another 5 years now. We're starting over.
Woozy, SpatialOS is some kind of technology for video games to basically scale very well with thousands of people on a screen. It just scales really well. But I think your Star Citizen thing might pan out. They might take another few years to develop if they claim that.
I haven't heard a great explanation for SpatialOS. What I'd say, how I would describe it is making the server lines invisible. So as let's say you're going forward in open world, right? And as you go forward, instead of zoning or something, you would just enter a new cloud server hardware, would just handle you in that area, and anyone behind you can go forward and would also go with you.
You have open world MMORPGs, right? Like Black Desert Online and stuff.
But they don't use SpatialOS.
No, they use their own thing.
Yeah, so I'm saying, imagine if Black Desert used SpatialOS properly, there'd be less lag because each area would have its own server hardware. But as they move, certain areas, they would just magically move from server to server. Kind of like what Ultima Online did with the sharding. One server used to be controlled by multiple servers. And they were like lines. There were certain areas in the world that as you pass through them, your character lags. And what's happening in the back end is your character is being copied. Your data was being copied from one server hardware to the next server hardware. And obviously this was a really bad idea back then because those server lines was where all the duping happened. Because if you walk back and forth, you could dupe your inventory because it was being copied back and forth. So that was fun.
But yeah, SpatialOS. Hopefully they up the technology game a bit. That'd be definitely pretty legit. I want to take a moment to do a bit of a weekly rant. All right, this is spur of the moment weekly rant, but it came from some experience I had in Final Fantasy XIV last night, and it goes back to a topic we've talked about quite a bit. So I will keep it a little brief this time about the pussification of MMORPGs, the pussification of video games, and actually you can really measure the degree of pussification in Final Fantasy XIV in the span of 1 year. So I think 2 nights ago, I was one of my friends, two of my friends actually, we were doing some old content in Final Fantasy XIV. So I linked you the content, right? It's called Alexander 8 Savage. This was a content from Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward, and this dungeon was really hard actually. And you can actually do these dungeons. These are level 60 dungeons in the game, right? and you can actually do these dungeons with with your level 70 character, with your level 70 gear, right? To make it easier, right? Because it's old content, right?
Okay.
So, we were doing this level 70 characters, only 3 of us, because we can't do it with 3 people anyway. But I was amazed because in this fight, the boss has a mechanic where he picks a random player, and he charges a laser for 3 seconds, a giant AoE laser, and it shoots forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it hits you, it one-shots you, which I thought was amazing because that same exact mechanic exists in the current content, which came out like a month ago, where there's a boss, and he targets you, and he shoots a laser. And the thing is, the level 7, and the current one is level 70, right? The laser doesn't one-shot you.
What's it to half? 80?
It does 80% damage, right?
Okay.
To you in an AoE. But in the old in the level 60 content, where if you go with full level 70, like really good gear, right? Top-notch level 70 gear, you still get one shot by that laser. But that same mechanic is now pussified in new content, where I don't get how is that a thing? Why did they make it so much easier?
Everyone's doing that.
And not just that, it just this fight actually, the one in the background of the video, the Alexander 8 fight took, I think, 2-3 weeks to clear, right? Just this one fight. Whereas all the current content in Final Fantasy 14, it was clear on the first day of launch. First day. The last raid tier and the current raid tier, clear on the first day. Whereas this one fight took like 2-3 weeks to clear, which is insane. And it's only a year old. To go from this 1 year ago, going from Final Fantasy 14 1 year ago to Final Fantasy 14 today, it is night and day difference between difficulty. Literally night and day.
But here's the question then. When you're designing the current zone, okay, or whatever, right? Are you designing for that top, 0.1% of raiders? Or are you designing for the average player? I don't like. Here's my theory. As the internet grows, as serious gamers now have multiple monitors, right?
Yeah.
The same people who took 2 weeks to clear something, had that came out today, those same people would be clearing it in like a day. So it's not because the content. It's not only because
no, this content is infinitely harder than any of the current content in the game. I've seen it personally.
Okay. But do you see what I'm trying to go with this? Could it be that even today, if you release the same content, it will be cleared much faster? Only because.
No chance.
Why?
This content was just harder. There was so much less leniency. And remember the point I said. There was a laser mechanic in this fight, which he does probably throughout the whole fight a lot, where it literally one-shots you. But the same exact mechanic exists in the current content, level 70 content, right?
Yeah.
Where it doesn't one-shot you.
I get that.
So
what I'm trying to say is,
the mechanics are literally made easier.
Okay, let's say this fight didn't exist back then, and they added trick to transvestite.
Thanks, fam. Appreciate
wow.
the Twitch Prime sub.
And you made me say it out loud.
You gotta say it out loud. Gotta call out the subs, all right?
All right. But here's what I'm trying to say. Let's say this content didn't come out back then, and it came out today.
Yeah.
With adjusted for like level 70 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I think it would be cleared faster than it was back then.
Nope. No way.
Why?
Even Ultimate Coil, right? The supposed hardest content, right?
Yeah.
That took about 2 weeks to clear, I think. 2 or 3 weeks to clear, right?
Okay.
And they came out recently, right?
Yeah.
But my friends who have done Ultimate Coil and who have done this fight, it's not even close. This fight's much harder.
Oh wow.
It's harder.
Okay.
But that really tells you what they're designing the game around. Obviously, it's more towards casuals now.
Yeah.
But I do think it's when all your raid content gets clear in the first day. I think it's really unfortunate because it gets rid of that aspirational content, the thing to look forward to doing. I mean, I stopped playing Final Fantasy 14 in the last patch after I cleared Omega 4. Because at that point, I did that shit. And I started playing again now that the next 4 raid contents came out. And I'm playing. And I've been playing a lot. But I have a feeling once I clear the content and I get my gear, once I get my parses to like top 10%, I'm going to stop playing again until the next set of raids come out. It just feels unfortunate that they really decided to dumb it down.
I think it's that's my core problem with these kind of instanced PvE endgame stuff. It's always going to be that seesaw. People are going to come back the day of the patch or the expansion for a while, whatever it is. They're going to play for a month, maybe 2, and then they're done for another 2 years. And I don't know if there's a way around that. I mean, the only way around that I see is like games like Eve, where it's just open sandbox and it's up to players to create the content,
Mm-hmm. But it's just, I don't know, it's just very frustrating to see how radically different it is. I think here's what I think happened from the design philosophy point, because I've been observing the current content the way it seems to be designed to me is that it's designed. These are 8-person fights, right? They're designed to allow 2 shitters in the group. If you have 2 absolute brain dead shitters in your party in Final Fantasy 14, who are just like they don't know how to play, right? If you have 2 of them, you can clear the content still. If the other 6 guys bust their ass, you can clear it with 6 good people and 2 baddies. And that's allowed people to be carried. It allows the casuals to be carried through the content and feel like they're experiencing the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the past, it was required for all 8 players to be really good to clear it. Not like God tier. This is not supposed to be like the end-all, ultimate, difficult content in the world, right? But if you have 8 competent players that put in the time and the grind and they know the mechanics, you'll clear it. Whereas now, you only need 6 people to do it, which is really weird because it creates this weird situation where it also creates frustration too. Because I have a friend who's trying to clear Omega 7 in Final Fantasy 14, one of the current raid tier content. But the problem is he can't get 5 other people that are good. He's getting 6 other people that are pure shit. And what's remarkable, you can actually measure this too, because I made a party with him the other night to see if I can help him, right? And every time somebody joined, I would look up their stats, because there's a website you can track people's stats on. And every single person that joined was bottom 5%. Bottom 5 to 10% that joined our party. And of course, and I'm kicking them out as they join, because it's like, why are you kicking me out, bro? I'm like, you can't say you kicked them out because they suck. Or you looked up their stats because they're banned.
What?
You can't refer to DPS meters or like
third-party websites.
FFXIV is an extension of DPS meters.
How is that? Wait. So if I go on a website,
yeah,
that is a ranking of players,
yeah, based on their DPS meters.
Well, I don't know what's based on. I'm just looking at the site.
Sure, but it tells you.
I don't have. Say I don't. Wait, do you have to have DPS meters installed to look at the site?
No, anyone can look at it.
So if I make a site called Altai's Random List, and I just have remote bottom 1%, okay, on the Altai rankings.
Yeah.
And if someone references that and kicks you, you can report them and get banned.
Yeah, probably.
That is absurd.
Yeah, I agree. It's absurd.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you're not supposed to talk about it.
It's one thing to say you don't want people running third-party programs on the client, right? Like a DPS meter. I get that because
no, the reason for that was always harassment. It was never that it caused the hacking issue. That they specifically said, Yoshi specifically said it creates people to be excluded. But there's a reason that you want to exclude. There is a valid reason to exclude people when they suck. You know.
That is. You're playing some SJW cuck game right there. That's what you're playing.
This is the reality of like so many games now, unfortunately. And I agree, it's really bad. But what's remarkable is I think it actually ends up hurting the casual player, because the casual player the people that are trying to clear this content, like they clearly are above. They're not the super casual that they won't even try. A lot of people won't even try, right?
I just want to say, Mark. I just want to say, rip to your account. You just admitted to doing this.
I didn't say it in game. It's fine.
If one of the 100. Oh, really? What?
What do you mean? They can't track offline activities.
Sure they can. If one of these 98 gentle lads watching decides to report remote, you know what you guys should do? Extort some gil out of him. He's rich. So there you go, guys. You're welcome.
I agree. It is very SJW cuck tier status, because the thing is, the guy asked me. One guy I kicked out, right? He said, "Why'd you kick me out?" I said, "I kicked you out because I want to clear this content, okay, with my friend. I want to have a chance of clearing it, right?" And he's like, "What do you mean? Then why'd you kick me out?" And I really wanted to say, "Bro, you've cleared like the last 2 tiers of content with literally like bottom 5%. I wanted to say it so bad, right? And it even tracks how many times you cleared it, right? And you score every time you cleared it. He had like 3. This guy had like 3 clears for 2 different bosses and like bottom 6% every time, which is remarkable. He means he got carried. He doesn't know what he's doing. And like, I didn't kick him out because I wanted to exclude him. I kicked him out because I wanted to clear it. Maybe I'll help this guy some other time.
That's a pretty good rule. I'm gonna apply to Harvard. And when they ask for my grades, I'm gonna say, well, you can't reference that. That'd be unfair. That's bullying. You gotta let me in. All right, you gotta let me to Harvard. Okay, don't worry about what grades I got in high school. Okay, because that would be discrimination and harassment. I wonder if someone is gonna use that in the future and to like apply to like a good school. I deserve to go to med school, and it doesn't matter what my grades were. I don't want to reveal it. That's harassment.
The funny thing is that is definitely the same logic.
Yeah,
because it's really bad.
Oh my god.
And I joined a party the other night because there was sometimes when I'm doing anything, I'll join easy content like the first Omega tier. Like I'll help other people finish it, right? Because like I get to practice my try hard mechanics, right? And I can help these other people clear the content, right? Whatever, it's a win-win, right? I don't mind helping other people either. And I'll tell people where they mess up sometimes because whatever, I'm playing the game anyway. I want to practice. I'll help these people. And I'm looking at my damage meters, right? I'm doing 6,000 damage on Doom Train, and the next highest guy who didn't die, the DPS is doing 2,800. he's just not doing his mechanics correctly, right? He just doesn't know how to play the game.
Yeah.
And we keep hitting enrage because once you enrage, like you do all the mechanics, if you don't kill the boss in time, he still has 20% HP. He just one shots everyone.
Yeah. Like a time limit.
I could literally be there till the end of time, and these guys would never clear it because they're just playing the game wrong.
Yep.
And I want to tell them, like, dude, your damage is really bad. You have to work on your mechanics. Like, if you just look at the numbers, you'll realize you're not playing correctly. But I didn't want to say that because I might get banned.
Yeah.
And one guy's like, oh, let's reform the party. I have to add materia to my armor. It gives me like plus 20 crit, right? Plus 20 stats. Like, no amount of fucking stats are going to change the game when you're that far behind. Like, you need to realize you're just playing wrong at that point. Which, but people, they can't know that. The game doesn't tell them that.
Exactly. Someone said that discourages improvement because if you don't know, well, what is that saying? The first step to like getting over a problem is to admit you have one, right? So if he doesn't know he's playing wrong, because there's no like feedback mechanism, then he'll never improve. And some people are saying, how can you use a site if no third-party programs are installed? My guess is people who do have these programs installed are submitting the data, so that anyone can view it. So if me, as someone who does not use DPS meters, installed, I can still view data from other people who uploaded the data. So I can still view it without breaking the TOS. I guess I just can't act on the information there, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, before people start calling me an asshole for kicking people out in the party again, I had a very when I'm doing 07 to help my friend, which is the harder tier. Like, it's a lot harder than the previous 2 raids before it. My only status is don't be gray. Gray is like bottom 20%. As long as you're not bottom 20%, I don't care if you're bottom like 22%. I'll take you. All right. Just don't be bottom 20%. And then because if you're bottom 20%, we just can't do. We're wasting our time. Really, we're wasting our time. At that point, you're better off going back to the old content and just doing a better job and getting your number a little bit higher.
Yeah.
So I set a very low bar for, you know, I want to fill up my party too. I don't want to sit there and party finder all day, but it just, the game does need a feedback mechanism, and they need to let their players know why they're failing. And if you don't have a DPS meter, obviously, by the way, there's, you know, if you include in the game, there are some negatives that come out of it. People, you know, will rage at each other more. It might increase toxicity. Yeah, that's a reality, obviously. But there are people today in Final Fantasy XIV struggling to clear content, and they don't know why. Like, what are they doing wrong? And they need to be. And it was really, I only really learned how to do my mechanics when I saw my friend playing the same class as me, and they're doing more damage than me. I'm like, holy, what am I doing wrong? At a certain point, I was actually like, I'm pretty sure I'm doing it right. I don't know why you're probably doing more damage than me because you have better gear, right? And then my friend, I'm like, I told my friend, log into my account, hit this dummy, I want to see how much damage you do, right? And they do it. And like, okay, they're doing more damage on my character than I was doing on my character. And I realized, okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong.
That
cool. Makes me adjust.
That's interesting, yeah.
The feedback mechanism works. I think it really works. It made me get a lot better at the game. My parse have improved. I mean, I'm no god tier at this game. I mean, I'm like top 15, top 20% for the first 2 runs. So it's still not bad. I'm in the purple parses on those, which is like top 20%ish. And I'm going to work on getting it higher, but I learned from the feedback mechanism from these third-party tools.
So I have a question about, someone raised a question about that website. So presumably there are people whose results are being uploaded against their will in some sense.
Yes.
Against their knowledge.
Too bad.
Is there any mechanism for them to take down that's like, can you lock your data somehow or no?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
No, you can't. Which actually, again, I can see how they would be upset. Yeah. But I feel like they're doing the world a duty anyway. If you share your stats to everyone.
I have a beautiful compromise for Square Enix. If they're listening, you can have this one for free, okay? Just pay me a billion gil in game. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to add a DPS meter to your own game, right? But you're going to opt everyone to hidden by default, okay?
I agree. That's
now,
good, yeah.
And then you can choose to reveal your data. And then obviously the top elite guilds will recruit among people who reveal it. Whereas if you want to keep it private, you can still do, you know, random, you know, queues, random, you know, whatever, like whatever the current system is for queuing. And that's fine. If you don't do it this way,
it's actually a pretty genius idea.
It is a
really
genius idea.
Solves the problem because only you see your stats, right?
Yeah.
And people ask, you can just bullshit your number if you want to, you know.
No, you can just have it hidden so they can't see it, and you can say, I don't know.
Yeah, but they ask you. What they ask you?
You can just say, you can either BS or say, or you can say, I don't know. I don't have it activated.
Yeah, it could be off by default, and you can turn it on. Yeah, that's fair. You can always get away by saying it's not, you know. So I think that'd be a win-win. It could be hidden from everybody else. You can only see, but
even you can't see it unless you activate it. Let's say, because you don't. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't care. Obviously, you know.
Yeah.
And most people, I think, don't care. End of the day. So the people who do care should see it, and people who don't care can hide theirs, or by default hide theirs. I
think the reason they actually there was a story about why it was basically banned to use it to use the DPS numbers. There was a event I think in Japan where this like TV host was rating Final Fantasy XIV on TV, right, for some new content or something, right?
On TV.
And yeah, on a TV show, and she was queuing, and a bunch of hardcore raiders in Japan like sniped her queue. Like they all queued at the same time, and they got into her raid, right? And they were like doing so much more damage, and they were making fun of her. They were live streaming. They were making fun of her DPS or something the whole time. And apparently it was like really bad. And after that disaster, they basically said, no, nobody, you're not allowed to talk about DPS. Don't be assholes. Blah blah blah. So right now their policies don't ask, don't tell. Look, they're not really.
I can respect them saying no third-party programs, right, and even banning for that. You know, that's their law. But saying you can't talk about it, that just sounds like so. It's like. Okay, like heroin is illegal in America, right? But could you imagine the government being like to like New York Times, like you can't even write about heroin, like,
I agree, it's
like overdoses or like problems or whatever. You can't even write. It's illegal to write about it or talk about it. That's such a weird mentality. That I don't think any Western game has that mentality.
If you ever tell somebody their DPS or like their DPS is bad based on any knowledge of you running a DPS meter, you will get banned for it if they report you. That's a bannable offense, and people have been banned for it.
That is
so
amazing.
If I tell somebody I didn't let them into the party because they suck based on their DPS, I would get banned.
The series of thoughts and like that you have to get to that conclusion that you think that's a good idea, I would love to hear their explanation. Like, it's such a weird way of thinking about the world, about any reality, society, whatever you want to call it.
The problem is it's just this SJW coddled mentality, which I think at the end.
I don't think it's that. It's like the Japanese version of that, because this game is obviously run from Japan, right? And I don't think in Japan they really care about feminism the way the West does. They have their other weird stuff, I guess. But I don't know. So I don't want. That's why I'm really curious to see if anyone in chat is like, a few of you have been talking about my suggestion has already been proposed apparently, and it got shut down. So if you guys have a good read on their thought process for this, I'm actually really curious now. This is the most interesting story I've heard all week, by the way.
There is a official statement by I think the director of the game has talked about this a few times, and it says it promotes the community to punish people by not performing well, and it excludes people, was I think their reasoning. And how they got there, I'm not sure, because yes, it can be used that way, but I think there's more positives overall of people learning how to play the game, because frankly, Final Fantasy XIV doesn't teach you how to play the game. It really doesn't. I had no idea what half the markers in the game did, like these stack indicators, these spread indicators, these AoE markers on my head. I didn't know what they meant. My friend had to tell me what they meant, because the game doesn't teach you, because you can just face roll through that content without knowing what the hell's going on. So the game doesn't teach you. You need something to teach you. So I think there's definitely a benefit to having it.
Okay, there's a few people in chat, and you mentioned too. They were saying it's anti-casual to have DPS. Look, I played WoW, and I was pretty casual. I never got like the top tier stuff. I never did Nex, and I did a few bosses in the tier 2 area, but that's it. And there was always DPS meters as a plugin, right? And I don't know anyone who found that like bullying or harassment. Like, the thought never crossed my mind that seeing how much damage people were doing was somehow anti-player, like bullying or like harassment. So that's why I'm curious. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, it's anti-bullying, but I want to know their train of thought that got them there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's really something else. It's somebody saying there are bad and silly players in the MMORPG, but yeah, it's just such a weird thing to ban people for that. I mean, again, for a long time I played 14. I was not too hardcore. I've been more hardcore lately, but I don't see how people can be offended by that. People are gonna find out anyway. You know, they can already use sites like FF logs to exclude people anyway. It already happens in the highest tier. So how really the only place it can happen is gonna be the high tier anyway.
So how hard are they trying to shut down sites like this?
They're not trying to shut down this site, but people have gotten banned if they ever exclude people based on that. And sometimes when you kick somebody out for being bad, how'd you know it's bad? Like, they're trying to bait you into saying, oh, your DPS was this, you suck. You know, like they're trying to, because they want to report you. And if you say it in the game, why you kick them out is because their DPS sucks. Like, you'll get banned for that. And I'm not sure. I don't think it's gonna be a permanent ban, but it should be, if you keep doing it, you will get permanently banned.
This reminds me of like East Germany, like people spying on each other, like trying to like bait each. Like, it's so funny to think that a player out there is trying to bait another player to admit they have the damage meters installed, and then just that chat log of them admitting that is enough to get them banned. That's That is insane. That is totally insane.
And look. By the way, here's what bothers me. If you harass somebody, you can make it a policy to ban people for harassment. And even though I don't agree with that because you can block people in game, look, if you want to ban somebody for harassing somebody, God bless, go do it, right? But don't ban someone for using the DPS meters. You know, make the harassment separate from using the meters and the tools available at your disposal. That I can get behind. If the guy keeps telling you you're fucking awful because you can't do more than 3 good damage, and he keeps saying it, yeah, fine, that's different. If the guy's harassing you, ban him. But don't just ban him for mentioning the numbers, because that's the absurd part, and that's where they're more worried about hurt feelings, about numbers not being good, than the actual harassment itself. Because make the harassment its own thing.
I don't even know if that's their mindset. Okay, here's my theory.
Let's hear your theory.
Here's my theory. They're actually embarrassed. They can't stop it for whatever reason. These DPS meters, which I would think it's easy to stop if they're controlling the client or whatever, right, or the server side.
I think every game has DPS meters in one way or another.
But how?
Third-party programs.
How?
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
it has to pull it from.
Yeah, it's pulling it from the game, because if you in the game, in your chat box, there's something called chat and then battle logs. Practically every MMORPG has this, where in the battle logs it'll say like, you hit the enemy for 10 damage, he hit you for 10 damage.
Well, they can remove that. They can just remove that.
Then you can't see the numbers either.
Sure, why not?
So when I cast a spell on an enemy in the game, do I not see those numbers?
You can see that number, but you can't see other players' numbers. Why can you see, like, okay, let's say we're in a raid, right? And you're the warrior and I'm the mage. Why should you, if you see my numbers, what good is that?
Like, I don't know.
Like if they hide the battle log,
the game can measure it anyway. The add-ons can just see how much HP the boss has, right?
Okay.
And just every time it gets hit, it can deduct that number, and it'll know whose ability hit what and what exact second, half a second.
Okay.
They can calculate it that way.
So here's my theory. They are embarrassed they can't stop the third-party program from like measuring this, right? So since they can't stop the actual problem in their view of the third-party program, they overreacted. Okay, some manager like years ago overreacted, and it's just became policy.
Probably.
That's my guess.
I don't think it's a huge issue, but it just goes back to the idea. I think I don't like the fact that the content is so much easier now than it was back. Even 1 year ago is what's crazy. The content 1 year ago versus the content today is night and day. Where it took everything is clear in the first day here, whereas back then it took like 2 weeks to clear. And
by the way, Psych that's a beautiful point. In the real world, there's no damage number somewhere, but in a war, we can still see who's winning the battle. Okay, when the people start dropping, you know, the bodies start dropping.
I think the current system actually creates more frustration points, because when you have so many bakas trying to clear content, back then when it was Alexander tier, the really bad players, they even tried raiding. They knew it wasn't. They knew they didn't belong there, right? They knew they didn't. They had no business being there. You know why? Because they knew they had no chance of clearing this. The casual player who would queue up for Alexander 8, he's not going to do it, because he has no chance, literally 0 chance. But the problem is he's got a chance of clearing the current content, because there's always a possibility that some Duker player is going to sneak into your party and be 100% carried. Yeah. Because the fight is not designed around 8 people being good. The fight is designed around 6 people being good and 2 people being shitters. It's designed that way intentionally. And I think they ran the numbers, and they figured they can create more happiness in the game by letting these players be carried. But it creates frustration points for the people getting carried if they can't find the people to carry them. And it creates frustration points for the 6 other good people who are always fighting, to always running up with bakas on their team. That, you know, it just creates frustration all around.
There's an alternative to this, okay? But I guess the alternative is worse, because even WoW is going towards smaller raid sizes now.
Yeah.
But the alternative is not. See, right now the objective in a raid in Final Fantasy is to kill the boss, right?
Yeah.
Because you get rewarded with some point token that can like be used to get gear 100% chance eventually, right?
Yeah.
The way WoW Vanilla handled this is different. The raids were actually not. They were 40 people max, but they were actually balanced around much less players than that. Like I remember, Onyxia could be clear with like 10, 12 people, but you could go in with 40, right? Make it easier. So the way it worked was the gear that the boss dropped was the limiting factor. So Onyxia dropped the same amount of gear, whether it was cleared by 12 people, 10 people, or 40 people, right? And you just had to fight for the gear. That was your lock. So you could do that today instead. Imagine the boss fights in Final Fantasy were balanced around 8, but you could go in with 16, 20 people. Then they could be shitters, right?
Yeah.
And you would just fight over the loot at the end.
That's actually really good system. You're right, actually. It's really smart, actually, for it to actually handle it that way.
Yeah, that's what WoW did. I remember in WoW, in a 40-man raid, if 10 people were actually useful, that was enough. You know, you could carry. If the 30 guys were like, you know, pushing 1 button, 2 buttons, that was enough.
You know what's actually really funny? This goes back to somebody mentioned a great Vic Rotor mentioned that, speaking of hurt feelings, it's a reminder that Yoshida was, again, director of Final Fantasy XIV, disabled chat messages in PvP. So there's 4v4 PvP arenas in Final Fantasy XIV, right? There's no chat allowed. There's no team chat allowed. You can't even talk to your own team.
Can you? Is there voice or no?
No, of course not. You can't talk to your... The only way to communicate is using the predefined messages in the game, like Dota has, like, you know, game is hard, or like the bullshit messages in Dota. There's a few predetermined messages. But it blows my mind that this is the solution that the game is taking. Like, you're just disabling chat completely.
You know, after learning what I learned here today, I'm surprised the raids in Final Fantasy are still as hard as they are. So, Omar, expect to get easier from here, not harder, based on this mentality. Yeah.
No, obviously it's getting easier because even from last year to today, it's night and day. It's unbelievably easy now compared to before. Yeah, TLDR FF14 is bad. 8 months in a row. Thanks, man. Look, I'm enjoying Final Fantasy 14, but look, I recognize some things I don't like about the game, and I think when some people really like a game, they don't see its flaws. I think it's very important to look at a game to realize it has its flaws and recognize them. The pussification, the removal of this chat windows, it's such a weird solution, I think, to toxicity that they're trying to solve. It just seems like such a bad solution.
Why don't they just get rid of PvP?
PvPing with somebody, why can't I coordinate with them? Why can't I say, this is the plan, let's go do this? See you, Cat. Much appreciated, fam, for the Twitch Prime subscription.
Welcome to the hardcore Raiders clan. DPS meters on. All right.
Young Fly. My thing is, does DPS meter actually distinguish between skill and pay to win? I mean, it's not really... Final Fantasy 14 doesn't really have any pay to win. But look, you can't pay for gear directly from the cash shop. And the thing is, no, you could. The DPS meters help you realize who actually knows how to play and who doesn't. Because if you can give a player who doesn't know how to play literally the best in slot gear in the game, the best possible gear, he won't even come close to doing the same damage as somebody who knows how to play the game with like substandard gear. It won't even be close. And you see it all the time. If somebody's, again, I was talking earlier, somebody in my raid was hitting for 2,500 DPS as a bard, and they were the second highest DPS on the meter. I was hitting for 6,000. They should be hitting for like 5,000 if they knew how to play their class. But they were hitting for half of that number. No amount of gear would help them. No amount of gear can help them. So I think DPS meters does help you distinguish between player skill and any other mechanic.
Yeah, I think that's true. Pay to win only matters between skill levels. So if two good Counter-Strike players are playing and one is like cheating, okay, obviously he'll win. Or if, a game where like a Crossfire, we can buy better guns, right? Mm-hmm. But what Omar's trying to say is he's trying to when he was making that party, we talked about it earlier, way long ago now. He was trying to just cut the bottom 20%, right?
Yeah,
where
that's it. I don't mind anyone else.
Yeah, that bottom 20%, if they had the best possible gear, okay,
it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, and not just in Final Fantasy, but let's say like in a shooting game, one guy, a pay-to-win shooting game, you give the bottom 20% player the best possible gear. You give like the pro player like a pistol, he'll win. Like
or a knife. I bet he'll win with a knife.
Maybe not the knife. Yeah, a pistol. Yeah,
I think actually FPS games really demonstrate the skill gap the best, because if you play one pro player in Counter-Strike with a pistol versus the bottom 20% of players in Counter-Strike, and they get full armor, ARs, grenades, smokes, everything, the guy with the pistol will 1v5 them 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the exact dynamic, but definitely, yeah. If me, Omar, and like 3 of our friends play Counter-Strike against a team of pros with just pistols, we could play till our eyes blow out. And we won't win a round, okay? So still trumps it.
Mentioned the chat restriction, because I have not done the feast PvP, the 4v4 PvP in WoW in Final Fantasy 14. There's a PvP mode with like 20 versus 20 versus 20 or something, right? And there's chat there, but I'm looking at the official site, and it does say the chat is all disabled in 4v4 PvP, which is just insane. It has no like, it's such a broad solution to this problem where they wanted to put no effort into fixing it. It's actually insulting almost, as someone who's done PvP in game, who enjoys PvP, to just say, too bad, you're not allowed to talk. Can at least let me queue for a mode where I'm allowed to talk, make a casual mode, like make a no communication and communication mode. If I want to communicate, let me communicate.
How popular is the PvP? From what you've told me before, it's basically a non-feature at this point.
It's there. Some people do it, but it's not the reason to play Final Fantasy 14. It's never been the reason to play Final Fantasy 14. The PvP has never been like super balanced.
Are the queues instant? Like, are people doing it on a regular basis?
But the thing is, the game encourages queues for the frontline mode, which is the 20 versus 20 versus 20. You get like rewards for doing it once a day.
Oh.
I've actually never done the 4v4, so I can't comment on that. But there are actually incentives, because every end of the season, players that do well or who played a lot get like some special cosmetics. So for that reason, people will, because Final Fantasy XIV still has a lot of players. Some people will still play it. Okay. But again, don't play Final Fantasy XIV for PvP. Arena PvP and WoW is like infinitely better for PvP. It's for mounts and leveling, basically. Yeah. Final Fantasy XIV is filled with 35-year-old moms doing 1k damage in rage. Eugen's, yeah, that's basically the case. It's such a... Again, one of my friends who's been trying to clear 07, which is one of the current fights, he's been frustrated because he keeps... Like, when somebody says, like, oh, my team keeps, like... my team always sucks, they drag me down. Like, you instantly raise your eyebrows to that, right? Instantly. And you realize they're probably full of shit and your friend just sucks, right? That's the reality. When my friend in League says my team always sucks, I agree with them. But League has a system of where you're always matched with people of your skill level, whether you realize it or not. You're playing with people that are your skill level. With Final Fantasy 14, you're not raiding with people that are your skill level. When you're in a pug, literally you could be diamond and a bronze player could join your team, and you're just not gonna win if he's got these bronze players on your team. It's just not gonna happen. And he's actually really good at this game. He's actually really good. He's fucking. He always gets like the top 10 parses, top 15% parses when he completes the raids because he's really good. He knows how to play his role. He doesn't fuck up that often. But you get these shitters on your team, you just can't do it. You get too many shitters, it just one side of the boat tips over and you're donezo. Yeah, we've been ranting about this one for a while.
Guys, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Yeah, and the beauty of some of these raids is they're designed to be teamwork around you. You gotta, everyone's gotta perform. I think there's actually too much leeway in people messing up with the current raids too. You're allowed to have like people fuck up all the time. You can just keep rezzing people in combat. It's not that big of a deal, whereas before it was.
Honestly, this has been out of vogue, like I said, even for WoW. But I prefer the world boss method. In EverQuest and stuff, there was no instances. You had a world boss, and you can, as many people as you can plow into that fight, the better. You could do it. It was. At a certain amount of health, certain amount of damage. You could do it with a small, organized crowd, or you could do the what I think is a much more fun way of just funnel people in, because even the casual player will still feel like he was involved. Like imagine these were world bosses, and you get one hit on him, then you die, but you're dead for 30 minutes and you're watching the fight, right? If it goes down, you're gonna feel like you're part of that experience. You're gonna be like, yeah, we got him, like the first world, down. So yeah. I miss those days. Open world bosses. Everyone gets involved. Everyone's contribution is determined by their skill, but everyone gets to contribute. I think. But
that's actually really cool. Because actually, when you mentioned the Onyxia fight and some of the 40-man raids in WoW, yeah, these fights are actually balanced around like you could do them with like 10 people, but when you could do it with like 30 shitters and 10 good people. It was actually a really cool way to balance around it, and I think that actually removed the frustration points. I think because it allowed casuals to participate, right? Because 40 casuals, can maybe equal like 8 good players. It allowed the casual to participate in a way, without really completely hurting the experience for the tryhards.
And to finally transition away from Final Fantasy here, Rift was the first game I played back when it was a subscription game, where I kind of felt that, where even if I was low level, I was leveling in a zone. There were these world events that anybody could participate in, and you get rewards based on your participation. And obviously, my rewards were always shit. But the fact that I could contribute, there was this huge boss. I was like, throw my little level 10 spells at it. I felt part of something bigger than me, right? And it was fun. It was cool to see everybody around me. I think, does Final Fantasy have that too? I think some game has these kind of like world events.
You have like these world hunts, but they're nothing special.
Oh.
They're not like the big ass world bosses that are super special to kill. BDO has world bosses as well. Terrific Life. BDO is a single player game with chat. A lot of MMORPGs do feel that way sometimes. Rift. Speaking of Rift, Altai, Rift Prime. Think it'll do well? It's launching on March 7th.
If I could play with that, if I could play that with a group, I think I would actually try it again. I think people would enjoy it today. If you like WoW, even Final Fantasy 14, I think you would like that game, only because it has a lot of that open world bosses, world events, a lot of classes. Great game, good game.
I think Rift Prime will tell us if people are willing to pay for MMORPGs again. Like it's gonna be re-gauging willingness to subscribe. Because I think a lot of people do like Rift. I mean,
it's so old now.
They say it's gonna ruin my pay. Yeah, it's old now as well.
Yeah. I think it'll do okay, but it's not gonna it's not gonna be anything kind of watermark like measurement tool. Like,
no, I agree. Yeah.
it's like allies.
But enough people subscribe to it, it'll show that people are willing to pay again, and maybe we'll get less pay to win stuff in the cash shops.
Maybe we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I know we were talking about $5 emotes before in Final Fantasy XIV, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, my friend bought me a $2 emote in the game, and I do want to say Final Fantasy XIV is really smart with their cash shop, because they sell you like they'll sell you a new hat that came out for Valentine's Day, right? It's a cosmetic, it's a hat. It's $3 in the game. An emote is $2. You can buy items for $1 in the game's cash shop. I don't think there are very few MMORPGs where the microtransactions are actually micro to a level where it's literally $1 or $2 for an emote or a cosmetic. So I think they're really smart to actually charge low, because I think more people spend money when the price is that low. Versus if you ever play Blade and Soul, guys, you want to buy one outfit, it's like $25. You want to buy one item in Black Dice Online, it's like $15. It's insane. I'm never going to spend that kind of money for like $20 items, but I could see myself spending $1 or $2 on a cosmetic or an emote or something Final Fantasy XIV. That's my price point, $1 or $2.
I've always been surprised at how macro these microtransactions are. Yeah.
$20 is not a microtransaction. $20 is a full price. Like, it's a game, a full game I can buy. PUBG is $30. There's so many games you can buy for $20. Overwatch is like $30, I think $40 when it launched.
Yeah.
Like, and 2 outfits is $40. Come on, that's not a microtransaction anymore. Microtransaction is less than $5 in my eyes. Even
Fortnite, those cosmetics are not cheap.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's for me. I don't. If it costs that much, I'm just never going to spend money on it. But if it costs less than $5, I could easily even we played that free-to-play Korean shooter Black Squad. I spent 99 cents on that game because they had a special deal. You get $10 worth of items for 99 cents. That's a micro. 99 cents is a micro fucking transaction. All right, I spent it, and like 4 of my friends on Discord all spent 99 cents on that game. And these guys don't spend money on other games either, but they spent the 99 cents. I think games to be a little more generous with the cash shop, and I think that they might make more money. But I don't know, $25 for a skin in Blade and Souls, and they look pretty. Boob and Soul looks great, but it's not a microtransaction anymore, bruh.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What anything else interesting? I'm actually glad we had this big Final Fantasy talk, because we did not plan that, but I was really interested in that one.
But it's so weird to see just how casual games are getting. Hopefully it doesn't stay that way, but I think you and I both know it probably will, especially with I think the rise of mobile games kind of coincides with that as well. The casualness of PC games and just how casual a lot of these mobile games are with autoplay.
Yeah. There's a story Nintendo made. I should say Nintendo. Fire Emblem Heroes made $300 million in its first year, and I was like running the math. Let's say a game costs $60. Like a traditional Nintendo game costs $60, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means 10 million copies sold would be 600 million. So 300 million is 5 million copies sold. And 5 million copies sold of a retail game is really well. It's a really good, successful game. And they made that with Fire Emblem Heroes, So
I bet you Fire Emblem Heroes is the cheapest Fire Emblem game developed by Nintendo.
Yeah.
And the most profitable.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Though I don't think it was developed by Nintendo.
No, it was made by Dena, I think.
Yeah.
They're the company that makes all the mobile games for Nintendo. But they have obviously some kind of licensing deal with them.
Yeah,
they get a piece of that pie.
Look, that's where the money is,
Yeah.
It's like that old fake quote. Why do you rob the bank? That's where the money is. There you go.
Yeah. The cosmetics are so expensive in Fortnite, though. I don't know. You can unlock some for free, but I don't know. The ones in the store are a little bit pricey. Anything else this week? We got Cabal 2 shutting down, but I don't know. No one should be really surprised about that one. But Cabal, surprisingly, Cabal 1, the OG Cabal, has been running for over 10 years now. Can you believe that? In America.
I believe
the Western version of Cabal Online has been over 10 years.
And I bet there's private servers too that are big.
Yeah, huge. And Cabal 2 is shutting down after less than 3 years in service.
Yeah.
No surprise on that one, though. It really was like the epitome of generic fantasy MMORPG. It's just another one of those games.
Let's see what Cabal 2 looks like. I don't even remember.
I have an old first look video for it.
Let's see. Cabal 2. First look.
It's an oldie. Even the game's character creator just was like
generic.
It was nothing. It wasn't as bad as like oldies like Last Chaos or like Shea, right? But like the game was so generic. It doesn't have anything special.
This character creation looks almost identical to the character creation in Lineage 2 Revolution, the mobile game.
Yeah, because you see the little graph in the middle. You can kill people while chatting. Yeah, there you go, Eugens. Yeah, OG Cabal was cool. It had like, some really flashy skills, and at least Cabal 2 is like has no soul. It's literally a big nothing burger.
Oh my god, it looks so bad. It looks like barely better than Cabal 1.
I mean, I don't know. It was just nothing. It was just literally nothing special. But again, I feel like a lot of MMORPGs are nothing special nowadays. And like, I don't think you can really compete if you make this generic MMORPG that offers nothing new. Like, either you have to be like, it's okay to be like a WoW clone. That Final Fantasy XIV is a WoW clone. It doesn't bring anything new to the table. It's just a really polished experience, and it's got the budget of a Square Enix game, and they just have a shit ton of stuff to do. But it's nothing original. But what is Cabal 2? It's just free to play game with like no budget, no content, and it offers nothing new. Why should anybody play this game?
Have you done our first look for Cabal 1?
No, I should though.
All right, so we'll just play this one.
Play a video for old Cabal.
All right, here we go. This is Cabal 1, boys. And you can't hear it because I have it muted, but the music in this game is actually really good. Cabal 1, that is, not 2.
Oh, this is an old MMO video. This is an oldie, boys. This is just like a PvP video. Just search Cabal PvP, all right? Search Cabal Online PvP and see some PvP action. All right, see some spicy PvP. You find some videos on that.
All right, here we go. Oh, look at these numbers, baby.
Oh, baby. And look, you know what's like? It's really silly, but I like flashy abilities in MMORPGs. How do you feel about that? Like, just this one PvP video that you're seeing in the background, like, some of those abilities look pretty badass. Especially for an older game. Like,
no, I don't like it. I don't like it.
Why not? You don't like doing flashy, cool abilities?
No, it's too much. It's too much.
No, I love it. I fucking love it. Because when I see shit like that, and if you're walking by, you see somebody do like, oh shit, I want to do that.
I do think they should scale with your level, but I don't like the ones where like everything is blue and blowing up.
I fucking love it.
It should never get to that point.
I love the fucking explosions and shit.
Yeah, there should definitely be some kind of visual cues about the strength of it, but not too explosive.
I love the person he's fighting. He's called XXX Seraph. Just another like cliche internet name you'd see. I like it. I just love the glow. Makes you feel badass.
I especially hate the ones that like fake move you. Like a lot of Asian games do this. Like you'll do a move and then your character will like jump forward, back, like do a backflip, and then end up exactly where they started. They weren't actually moving, but like it was like this fake movement. That annoys me. If it's real movement, like part of the ability is to like dash forward, and you actually end up forward after you do your move, that's fine. But I don't like the acrobatics that don't go anywhere.
But yeah, rip Cabal 2. Offered nothing new. No surprise. No reason to play that over more established games.
Final Fantasy XV came out for PC. I know that was the game that Omar he bought a PS4 for.
Yeah.
PS4 originally for. I don't know, but
it was Persona 5 as well.
But that came later.
That was one. These two games were both.
Yeah, but by then you already had PS4. But the reason he bought it was Final Fantasy, and it did not look great.
It launched in 6 days.
Oh, it's not out yet. Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy 15 launched in 6 days. I was not impressed by the PS4 version. I don't know. I think it is the only mainline Final Fantasy game I bought and I didn't bother to finish. The only one. I finished 13 as well. You know, and it wasn't as great as 10 or 7 or 8 or 9, but I finished it. Didn't finish 15.
Speaking of reboots, we started with the weekly raid. Final Fantasy VII reboot is still in the works. It's been in the works for a while now. Do you think that'll ever come out?
I hope so. I mean, Final Fantasy VII was like my first Final Fantasy game, and it was like probably one of my first JRPGs. So I'm still hyped for it. You know, people say I agree it's overrated, but it's a really good game. I think. Got some hype for it still. Hope it comes out, but I'm not counting the days for that one.
Yeah. Have you seen this trailer of like they remake the opening scene?
Yep, it looks really really nice.
How old is this now? No, it's not too old. Never mind.
We played we talked a little about Tale of Toast as well. We played that for Grindfest. It wasn't bad. I feel like maybe let me describe the 3 kinds of MMORPGs out there, and I feel like every MMORPG fits in these categories. There's 3 kinds of MMORPGs out there. You got the instance dungeon, persistent hub games like Dungeon Fighter, games like Closers Online, Games like Critica, games like
Soul Worker Online, which came out.
Soul Worker Online, which just launched the open beta. Again, that arch type of game, it encompasses so many titles, right? But it's got this very specific kind of play. It's just designed around the same mold. That's one kind of MMORPG. Your second kind of MMORPG is a sandboxy, maybe PvP heavy, more flexible MMORPG. Think RuneScape. Think Ultima Online. Think EVE Online. Think Tale of Toast, where basically you have more, the narrative is more driven by what you do, what you craft, open world. It's more of it's more older games. If Albion Online fits that category as well. There aren't that many. It's probably the smallest of this group.
Yes.
And the older games, right? But that's another kind of MMORPG, right? These are two molds we've seen for lots of games. And the third mold is maybe is the WoW clone mold, where you have games that just trying to be like WoW. Final Fantasy XIV, Runes of Magic, Allies Online, even Fly for Fun to a degree was like this anime look of WoW. Like it just, that's probably the biggest category. But there seems to be nothing outside those three categories. And I want to see an MMORPG break those molds and go with maybe the only game that might even try to break that mold might be Period Chronicles, if they're going to go with the player created content angle. But I want to see a game try something different. I don't want to see another one of the game in those three molds.
You should look up Dual Universe.
Yeah, Project Gorgon would definitely fall into the second category. Ether.
But yeah, this game, I think Tale of Toast did a lot better on Steam than they thought it would. The servers I hear are still having problems.
Yeah.
So wait another day or two and then give it a shot if you think it looks cute. It's a 2-man team that made this game, so don't expect. Omar listed a whole bunch of really good games in that category, but this is a 2-man job. Don't expect too much. Yes, it is. There's no set classes or anything. There's open PvP with full loot, but 2-man job. Don't expect too much. But I think if you go in with it without those high expectations, I think you'll have fun. You'll enjoy your time. Mm-hmm. And maybe they can hire people now. I don't know, to actually develop it.
It was a fun game though. I mean, it's different. You don't see too many games like this anymore either. I mean, Project Gorgon is another relatively new indie one being made in this mold. But I think this mold, it still works because games like RuneScape are still hella popular. People like this mold when it's done well. But the problem is this mold is a lot harder to do, especially with the full loot and more PvP mechanics. Full loot PvP is very hard to get right, and it turns a lot of people off if it's not done right. So it's a tough one to do, but it's a charming game, and I hope it does well. There's over 300 people online right now too.
Tale of Toast would be fun if I could get into the server. Yeah, I'm actually shocked that they're still having server problems. We played it a few days ago.
Fly for Fun definitely did not come out before WoW. No way.
WoW is 2004, I think.
2004. 5 is actually August 16, 2004 as well. Okay, perhaps more EverQuest than WoW. WoW is a more refined version of EverQuest. So I mentioned WoW because more people are familiar with WoW. But WoW is just a more refined version of EverQuest. So maybe that's a better category, like the EverQuest model, perhaps. But I only said the WoW model for that reason. So Flife actually did come out, looks like, before World of Warcraft. And November 23rd, 2004 versus August 16, 2004. Well, Flife is an oldie. I'm seeing ads for Fly for Fun mobile everywhere now. Have you?
I'm seeing them on Instagram, which is shocking because I don't know why. I'm not sure if there's an overlap there between Instagram people who look at food and like booby models and Flife. I don't know.
Flife Legacy is no bueno if you ask me. It's just an autoplay nonsense game. It's not great. It's a skipper IMO. Definitely nothing there besides do you have some of the same characters from Fly for Fun? Like this like monster names, but beyond that it's nothing special. It's no bueno.
Anything else, or I want to bitch about 2 console games. Dynasty Warriors 9 and Metal Gear Survive.
All right, this is the Altai rant. Let's hear the Altai rant. Bitch about them.
Okay, fine, I'll do it now.
Metal Gear Survive though, yes, there's definitely some weird shit with that one, so take it.
Okay, so with Metal Gear Survive, okay, for both of these games actually. Okay, I'm gonna a group rant here. They're both just chasing really stupid fads and trying to bolt it on to their well-established platforms. So with Metal Gear, it's the whole zombie survival thing, right? It felt so bolted on. It's so stupid. Just look up trailers. It's so stupid. And the same thing with Dynasty Warriors 9. I love Dynasty Warriors. Okay, it was one of the first PS2 games I played. Dynasty Warriors 2, I believe. And I played a couple after that. They were all very similar, yes, but they were fun. With Dynasty Warriors 9, with the Jimquisition video on it is really well. They bolted on this open world because everything's open world now. I blame Ubisoft for this, by the way. But anyway, it doesn't fit. The battles lose their meaning. They're not fun. It's just you riding your horse for like 10 minutes between areas, and then fighting a few guys, and it destroys the pacing. The whole pacing, like it's fight after fight. It's just constant fight in Dynasty Warriors. It's totally ruined, and it's because of this open world fad, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mostu777, first time catching us live. Oh, thank you so much.
Appreciate the bits, fam.
Yeah. So I want to play some videos here of Dynasty Warriors 9, but I think I'm gonna do that in the post game though.
We can kind of tie the cash shop in Metal Gear Survive to.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. Oh yeah. All right, let's hear that.
It is literally insane. It's basically the Metal Gear game comes with a single save slot, one save slot. If you want to get a second save slot, they're charging you like $10. $10 for a second save slot? That is the most bullshit thing ever. It's such an artificial limitation because there's no capacity problem there, but they're charging you $10 to unlock a cat. That's more bullshit than the loot boxes in the Star Wars Battlefront 2. How is there not a shitstorm over that? Probably because the game is absolute shit anyway. Yeah. But that is insane. Like that is such like that is such like ridiculous. That's offensive. I find that offensive. But the best thing to do in those cases is just not buy those games that they're doing that bullshit. That's the best way to fight back. Yeah, and I like I said, I will play a video in the post game. But Mosu777, thank you for the sub and the bits. Subscription.
Yeah. Anything else before that though? Are we good?
No, I think we're good for the post game.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Stick with us. If you're on Twitch, we're gonna watch some console videos. All right. Take care.
Later for YouTube, guys.